go for whatever FHA or whatever programs are available for you as a first-time home buyer. Do that, and then have your partner do the same thing.
The Abundant Wallet.
Welcome to the Abundant Wallet podcast, where real estate investors and entrepreneurs learn how to stop overpaying banks, control their capital, and build true financial independence. Today's guest is someone who's not just building wealth, she's building legacy. Shantell James has turned real estate into a true family business. From house hacking before it was a buzzword, to creating fully paid off cash flowing assets, to structuring everything inside a generational trust designed to outlive her. But what really sets her apart is her mindset, her ability to pivot through setbacks like pandemics and natural disasters, while staying focused on long-term wealth, community impact, and financial independence. If you want to hear what it looks like to combine real estate, family, mindset, and legacy into one powerful strategy, you're going to love this conversation. Let's welcome Shantell James to the Abundant Wallet podcast.
I like the fact that you guys are not totally dependent on like another team, and you have a lot of the control. So I feel like also, the saying where, if you want to go fast, go by yourselves. If you want to go far, go with a team. But
True.
I feel like, if it, like for me, like I do a lot of like joint ventures and syndications, and yeah, I am doing it with a team. And even though like I have a small percentage, just because there's huge like commercial real estate buildings or apartment buildings, it's still a long game. Like it's not something that is going to like replace like my W-2 income from day one, or even a couple of years. Like I've been doing this like 4 or 5 years. So my girlfriend, who is also from Puerto Rico, yeah. So yeah, we've been doing this 5 years, and we like the fact that we don't have to be operators, and just we're making money while we sleep, like passively. But I know enough because I've been in a operator situation to ask the good questions about my operators before I jump into a deal. So
you have to do your research. You have to know, even if it's, something like a big conglomerate or whatever, you have to do your research, make sure that the money's right, make sure that they have the same fundamental values that you have, because that's key. If you don't want to go into to bed, if you will, with people that don't have the same integrity that you have, so it's you have to vet. And I mean, even though I may not have a big team, I still have a team. It's just a tighter circle. It's my family. So like we still maintain and operate our real estate that we have in Brooklyn, but now our sons are the ones that are doing the property management for it. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of going to the next generation. We did think that because we're living in Puerto Rico, my husband would have to travel more to see our properties. He did it once, but now we've been having our sons like, DJ, check the boiler. DJ, make sure that everybody's good. Is the house clean? Da 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 da. So he's been our property manager, and it's been working out very, very well because it's given him some skills that he needed after graduation. So it became a family business. So yeah. It's still, even though it's not a big group, it's still our group. It's our trust.
That's great. If you're splitting anything, it's amongst family. It's not with a third party, which is great. So you're keeping it all in house. That's awesome.
And we have teams that help us. Of course, you need repairmen. You need those kind of skills. So we have that in place.
Okay. Yeah, you got boots on the ground and stuff. Cool. That's awesome. So you kind of gave a little bit of a backstory of how you got into real estate investing. Was that, so you kind of watched your parents, was that from like a young age, just like your
kids?
Yeah.
Yes. So we started off in an apartment building before, like when I was born. I think we moved when I was 3 years old into the Bronx. 233rd to be exact, where my family bought the 2-family house. And from there, yeah, I've always had tenants or friends, if you will, that lived upstairs. And I understood that it helped us with paying bills and going to private school and stuff like that. So it supplemented. And when it came time, like I said, when it came time for me, I knew that that was the avenue I wanted to pursue. I wanted to pursue at least a 2-family to make sure that I had the extra income so that it paid for itself.
And that's really more of a form of like house hacking, right? Like
Yeah.
if it's the duplex where you're living in one side, you have tenants in the other, so you're basically living rent free or mortgage free.
Yeah. The one thing I wish I knew back then was we bought it as a partnership. What I would have done differently was, since we weren't married at the time, I would have gotten a mortgage on my own, and I would have asked my husband to get another property and get a mortgage on his own. So
Yep.
then we could have at least, diversified in that avenue. But everything happens for a reason, and we're still in a good space, so I'm good with it. But that would be something that I would share with somebody that asks for my advice, would be like, if you're separate, but yet you're still looking into it, take advantage of that. Go for whatever FHA or whatever programs are available for you as a first-time home buyer. Do that. And then have your partner do the same thing. And you guys could always come in the middle and still buy something together. That was one thing I would have done differently, especially with the prices the way they were.
Yes.
We could have had maybe $10 million of assets right now, because we would have bought 2 assets for $200,000 each. And, but it's all good.
I see what you're saying, because, when you look at something, even if it's in your personal name, I think you could have up to 10 loans. I think the debt to income ratio is going to be better if you separate them out. Here's what's under my name. Here's what's under. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool.
That would be my advice.
No, that's great. No, that's great advice. So what about maybe some of your early wins, or something that you're kind of celebrating and you're like, oh, this actually works, anything you can think of?
So it's interesting. Again, we bought in 2000, and 2001 we got married, and then I started looking to see if I can get rental income. So Cochrane had just came onto the market, if you will, and I was like, you know what? I want to get tenants, and I don't want just any tenants. I want good tenants. So I reached out to Cochrane and I told them, hey, this is the property I have, and they actually were like, oh, we don't know. We don't really service that area, because it was still kind of depressed. But I was like, come through anyway and see what you see. So they came in and they actually took the listing. And from there, they opened the door. I think I opened the door to Crown Heights, to Cochrane, where they started advertising. They started building Crown Heights where we were at, started elevating to the point that 15 years afterwards, I was able to say, you know what, we're going to capitalize, because I knew my mortgage was $2,000 and I could take home at least $4,000 if I rented both of the apartments. So I was like, that to me is a win. So you know what? We're going to take that leap of faith. So yeah, I think I opened up the door to Crown Heights.
No, that's incredible. I mean, $4,000, even if you're, you have the debt service, $4,000 is phenomenal in a 2-unit,
At that time, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's supplemented. And it's funny again, because even and like I said, I did everything because of love or whatever the case may be. But when we moved from Brooklyn to Yonkers, I was like, oh my God, I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. We might be cash strapped. But because we were getting, my income plus the corporate income, it worked out. We were able to take family trips. We were able to kind of move a little faster and better. So it definitely helped ease up the finances for the family. I don't want the dogs to start barking.
Okay. Yeah. No. That's awesome. And you also had the fortitude to be look in the future, this is something we want to do to supplement the income.
Yeah.
And obviously you're you're not just gonna take that and buy things with it, but you want to buy a portfolio that's gonna set you guys up for success.
And that's exactly the path that we got on, because we had that property. Then, like I said, I bought a single family in Yonkers. So I was able to kind of use some of the funding that I was getting from Brooklyn to pay for Yonkers along with my income. And we lived comfortably. So then now, fast forward, we're both retired, if you will, from Verizon. I left with a severance package. My husband left with a pension. And that I fully paid off that Brooklyn asset. Like, that Brooklyn asset is paid off and it's mine.
You
So
own it.
all that money is now coming just to us so that we can reinvest it the way we need to reinvest it. And then the beauty of this property in Puerto Rico is it's a short rental Airbnb stay. So I have a long-term rental in Brooklyn. I have the short-term in Puerto Rico, which is a nice touristy location. So now my next thing is working with the Yonkers property to see where we're going to move with that one. I'm leaning more towards renting that out as well, just to kind of supplement and also to get equity out of it, So I'm making my assets work for me, and that's what I like.
Yes. Yeah, you don't need to trade time for money when those assets can work while you're sleeping. That's awesome.
Exactly.
We're in Puerto Rico.
So the short-term rental is located in Guanica, Playa Santa to be exact. I could kind of show you just a brief.
Okay.
So we're like a 7-minute walk to the beach. So it's really nice. So we've been here because we actually have another property that's in the mountains of Puerto Rico that we're working on. And that's going to be our farm location where my coaching business is actually going to be headquarters at. So I'm trying to make it kind of a wellness space where we have educational classes, coaching classes, yoga classes. I also work with a group of ladies called the Treasure Lotus Collective, and it's a collective where I have myself as the coach, holistic care, a doctor, Dr. Yolanda, and a friend of mine who's a social worker, Violet Chang Lewis, that we're all coming together and we're focusing on community, wellness, getting yourself right. So that'll be some courses that we offer there as well. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, that's what I said too. Once I do leave corporate America, just to work on stuff that makes me happy and that
Yes.
I want to work on instead of being like forced to do stuff.
And that's another. Absolutely. And that's another conversation that I had with my husband, is that we've done a lot of maintenance of this property here, but we get to pace it. We get to see the results and the fruits of our labor, and we get to see people actually enjoy it. So it's a win-win. It makes you feel good.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Have you thought about, has there been a really tough lesson or maybe a setback or a challenge that you've encountered, or just because your due diligence has been pretty on point?
I would say natural disasters.
Okay.
COVID impacted a lot. We didn't have as many people staying. So when we first bought this property here in Puerto Rico, literally I had every weekend booked from the first time that I bought it, which was, my mortgage was $900, if you will. And so it was like, whoa. And I kind of stepped into it, again, following my passion, following my love, but it ended up working for me. Yeah. So then we had COVID. A little depressed, people weren't coming, but we took advantage of the property for ourselves. But what really did a number for me was there was a major earthquake that happened on Three Kings Day. I want to say like maybe 2021. And basically took the tourism and it sucked it out of this area. So I no longer had that money that I could rely on, or that stable bookings that I relied on before. So that was a learning experience where not everything's going to stay constant. You have to kind of pivot. You have to kind of go with the flow, if you will, but it'll all work out. If you have certain things in place, if you budget the way you have to budget, if you price it the way you have to price it, you'll get your money, or you'll at least break even. So that to me was, just natural disasters, knowing that those things can impact you in a serious way.
Okay.
And learning how to again pivot. To me, it's always been I've always been one that could adapt, and I think that's one of my superpowers.
Yeah.
That when things aren't going too well, I look at the full picture and I try to pivot to where I feel that it's gonna be safer, and then I come back into my I'm in the middle of the street again. Let's play. So like now I'm getting the bug again. Like I want to buy another property. Let's get a long term, So I want to we're looking at seeing if we could buy another long term investment property where it will be a long term rental for affordable housing. So we understand that that is a plight. I think more people should look into purchasing properties because companies are coming in and they're swooping things down. I'm
Yeah.
looking at my son goes to college in Binghamton. A lot of corporations have these single family homes where they're renting back to students. These are not mom and pops anymore.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of the money out of the middle class and puts it to where they've already been making their money. They're doing their thing.
Yeah, I do see a lot of institutional investors just because they have the capital at their disposal, and that they don't mind.
And they could buy things in cash. I mean, the
Yep.
market has been crazy with you have to have cash. Like if you really want to play in this game, you have to have cash in hand. And that's why I understand why some people go to the hard money lenders or go to, crowdfunding and things of that nature. Because that's the way that you can only play in the game. So even with my farm, it was on me that I had to buy it in cash, and that's what we did. So most of my properties we bought with mortgages, but the last one was definitely in cash. And I'm even thinking with the next one, it might be a cash deal. So, that's how I've kind of pivot myself where it's like you want to be marketable, you want the owners to take you seriously. And sometimes the only way they'll take you seriously is if you have the cash on hand.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with banks.
Yep, that's true. That's a good point. So even in New York, where I think a lot of people stay away from it because it may be more tenant friendly than landlord friendly, it doesn't sound like you've had any issues on that side of the house.
I've had like one problematic tenant, but everybody else, knock on wood, has been good. It's just treating people right. It's addressing the problem. I mean, I've learned that in corporate America. If someone brings you a problem, deal with it. Deal with it with a sympathetic ear. Put yourself in that person's shoes and just deal with it accordingly. And that's kind of how I run my businesses. Like I've always kind of put myself like, okay, my client, if they come, are they going to enjoy themselves? Are they, is this something where I would pay the money that I'm asking for? So I always put myself in that. And the cardinal rule, treat others as you want to be treated, right?
That's right. That's
So
right.
it's worked for me. It's worked for me in my businesses because it lends for a better experience and less headache.
Yeah. You kind of mentioned you want another long-term property. Is that probably what you're going to be focusing on next? Just another one? Okay.
Yeah. Short terms are great, but I think again, the same as corporations owning one family homes, short rentals kind of did the same thing to the market where it's taken affordable housing out because everybody sees that they can make, as opposed to making $900 a month, I can make $3,000 a month doing a short-term rental. But then you take away the locals, you take away the actual flavor of why people come to your spot in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's something that you have to manage. But yeah, I'm definitely into it for long-term rentals. I think that that's where my focus is right now. The farm will also have an element of short-term rentals. Like we'll have like little tents and stuff for glamping and whatnot. So
nice.
that'll be the short term. But yeah, my next purchase, I want it to be a long-term.
Okay. And do you think that's
And again, a multifamily.
Yes, for sure. And as far as like funding goes, do you think that's going to be another cash deal, or like how do you think about like deploying capital for your next deal?
So I look at all avenues first, but the one that comes the easiest, if you will, is the way that I go. So I will reach out to different banks and whatnot, but if they're like, look, we don't do this or we don't do that, and I know I can take the capital out, I'll take the capital out. But I think in my heart of hearts, it's leaning towards just taking capital from my own stash and putting it towards it, because then the money comes directly to me.
Yep. You don't have to worry about any payback or
No.
any interest lost. Yeah.
Correct. And all these like they're no longer individual investments. They're part of a trust. So it goes into the trust, you know. So we talked about legacy. That's the legacy that I'm really trying to formulate. I have two sons, you know, they will have their own way. It's the trust is set up in a way that if they sell an asset, it goes directly into the trust and into an account. So it's not like they can just liquidate a asset and just do whatever they want. So I'm trying to really put things in place that the trust and the legacy will continue for as many years as it possibly can.
Yeah, that is the right way of doing things. It kind of breaks the two generation curse because the trust owns the asset.
Yes.
It's not you're not just splitting distributions in cash and then away you go, and who knows what's going to happen to that. So that's the right way to do things.
I did the Rockefeller thing.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because that's where I was going next. Like with the trust, do you also have like, dividend paying life insurance? Is that part of your trust? Awesome.
I did the whole shebang. So it was like, we got to get the insurance policies. We got to put them into the trust. We put all the real estate into the trust. So technically I don't own anything. The trust owns everything. There's, stipulations that if they borrow from the trust, they have to pay back in the trust. They have to give reasons why they're taking money out of the trust. So it's not like they can just liquidate anything and just do what they want. So there's definitely rules in place that we're stretching this out, to your point, so that it doesn't just stay in two generations and then it's tapped out, that it can last longer. So
yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, that's actually you mentioned Rockefeller and they are kind of like the original pioneers. I've been a follower. Not sure if you know the name, but Nelson Nash created the infinite banking concept, IBC.
no, I'll look it up.
Yeah. So he created that in the 80s, and I'm a practitioner of that, and I help people get into those vehicles. So this is one of the only vehicles where you can use your money in multiple different ways, and it still grows inside your policy, which is amazing.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So he created a book. I think he started back in the 80s, but he created this book called Becoming Your Own Banker, Nelson Nash. And
send that to me when we when we're off this. Yeah, please.
I will. It's a great read. He's kind of an old school guy. He's since passed, but like he was a financial services guy. He created this, and there's a lot of different schools of thought when it comes to finances, and he was after the Austrian school, which meant your banking function is totally private and not dependent on government, because
nice.
Yes. So and one of the only really real ways to do that is dividend paying whole life, and it's guaranteed money. It's it's not like the stock market. You have downside protection, but that's what I help people get into. And I feel like, because I know the real estate side, because I've been a client of infinite banking as well as real estate, I just see the two really go hand in hand. I mean, you can have one or the other, but when you can source funds out of your own banking system, as opposed to just borrowing from, like you said, a hard money lender or some of the big banks, you recapture that interest back into your own pocket.
Yeah, I was looking into like IRAs that you could purchase real estate with. The only reason why I kind of didn't go with that is your money's still tied up. You're still tied up until you're 59 and a half with those assets. So that's the reason why I didn't go that route. But yeah, anytime that I can find another way to make the magic happen, I would actually look into it and definitely try it at least.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. Like I myself am a late starter, so I live, even though I had the money, I kind of squandered the money, but I didn't start my financial independent journey till my late 40s, and it only took me 5 years to become an accredited investor with my girlfriend, and we have enough properties, but like I had to do it the right way. I couldn't do 4 years with a mutual fund or a 401k. Like I had to use whole life insurance to fund my deals.
Love it.
Yeah, but no, that's great. Let's see. So you're definitely doing that. That's awesome. What do you think most investors might misunderstand understand about maybe money or financing, especially when it comes to real estate investing?
Good lesson I learned actually from a real estate agent is not to sell yourself short. Like, a lot of times we put ourselves in a box, like, I can't afford that, or the bank's never going to give me that. And they don't even start the process, they stop with their own thought. So at least, what the realtor said was like, you don't know what the bank's going to give you.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're able to get. Put it out there. Talk to them. Show them your finances, because you might be pleasantly surprised that they may fund you $700,000 or $1 million. But if you don't put yourself out there, you're never gonna know.
Yeah.
So that would be one of my biggest things, is just getting out of your own head and talking yourself out of your own blessings.
Yeah. So yeah, I see where you're going. So in your eyes, mindset is pretty key.
Mindset.
Yeah, nice.
Mindset, definitely. And that's where the coaching comes in, because I see a lot of people cut themselves short because of their mindset. They're either it's not for them, or they think it's not for them, or, like I had a friend who had an asset. She wasn't living in the asset for a number of years. I kept telling her either sell the asset or rent it. Sell the asset or rent it. It took her like forever to finally rent the asset. Now she's like, oh my God, the money that I'm getting from it is like, so I'm like, you could have been doing that like for 10 years now, But
Exactly.
yeah, so she was like, so her thing was, I'm not a landlord. I'm not a landlord. I get it. But you
None
know
of us
what?
are.
You have property managers that could do things. You have other people but just put yourself out there. Don't sell yourself short. Don't block yourself.
Yeah, no, that's so well said. It's kind of like Robert Kiyosaki said, if it's not an asset, if it's not putting money in your pocket, right? It's a liability. So make it work for you.
Make it work for you.
Nice. Great.
Make it
Great.
work.
This is good stuff. So I think this is probably my last question here. What do you think might be your goals maybe over the next 2 to 3 years in terms of maybe growth or deals?
I'm gonna be a billionaire. Growth growth in real estate, obviously. Growth in my life coaching business. Growth in the wellness space. Just letting people know that they can do things. I'm not unique, I don't have any real secrets. It's just that I've taken tools that have been lent to me, and I've taken advantage of them. And I want to do that for other people. I want to impart that. So if I can shift the mindset, if I can make a person realize that they have the capability to make money passively and do it the right way, why not? Like, we could all live and we could all, eat well together.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be a billionaire.
That's right. That's right. Amen.
So,
Yeah, and that's the mindset too, is like, and that's why I created the abundant wallet, because everyone, I feel like you said, like your friend, like there's so much scarcity in the world, and I think that comes from maybe older generations that may have passed that down mistakenly. And it's just like, we have more than enough. We don't have to be in competition with each other. And I feel like for the next generation is just to pay it forward. And even if we don't offer monetary help, we can at least get someone going and active in the community to where they could learn to fish and not
education. And
Yeah.
that's another piece of it. I'm doing coloring books so that I can plant seeds in that next generation, how to treat one another. My uncle came out, and that was one of the biggest pitfalls that I had financially, was when I first went into college. They gave us free credit cards, a credit card for a big Kit Kat. And it was like, I'll take the Kit Kat and the credit card, and then I'll run up the credit card. So dealing with that, I didn't know about money like that. So, now that my uncle has implemented a book where he's teaching college kids and younger how to actually save with credit cards, how to use the points, how to, save with money and be safe with money. So I think that, to your point, educating the younger generations on how to properly manage their money, how an asset is different from a liability, how you can make assets work for you, and not having fear, like not putting other people's preconceived notions in your head and living with that. This is your life. It's your story. Make it your own and do what you have to do.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Awesome. Well, again, thanks for your time.
Thank you. This was
yeah.
fun.
Yeah. This is great. I felt like you had so much inspiration for others and for the community to just go for it, and I believe they should. So yeah, let me get this into editing, and maybe I'll send you some highlights and some
Yeah,
reels.
I would have loved that.
Yeah, great.
All right,
Well,
cool. Thank you for the time and the opportunity.
yeah, thank you.
And best of luck. And take the leap. It's
Yeah.
gonna be fine.
Yes. And if you do know of anyone that is doing things kind of like you, but doesn't have that either trust or the whole life insurance, and maybe they're doing things the hard way, I would love to talk to them.
Okay,
And
definitely.
I'll get you the name of that book.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Have
You're
a great
welcome.
day. Enjoy.
All right, you too. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.